So I woke up today, I checked my stock market portfolio in the morning, and man, it was ugly. I was down lots of money. I lost about $10,000 on my main account, a couple thousand in a couple of my retirement accounts, and tallying it all up, it was likely around $15,000 in total stock market losses. And it very likely could have been my biggest one day paper loss since becoming an investor in 2019. And this is the reality of investing, right? If you play the game, losses like this they're going to happen. I've had five-figure gain days and now, five-figure loss days. I'm a long-term investor, but it's tough to take this type of beating sometimes. And for those new to investing or considering getting into it, this could sound very scary at face value, but stocks don't always go up, right? And I just want to give people a realistic look at how this stuff works. And the reason that this loss is the number it is too is just because I've been investing for a while. But despite this, I'm not selling right now. I have no plans of that. In fact, I just did my taxes, and it turns out that I only reported 2 sales of stocks and ETFs last year, and I hold hundreds of thousands of dollars in stocks and ETFs. So I hope that gives you a glimpse into the type of long-term game I play. I buy, I hold. I don't sell unless something crazy happens. So what's the reason behind this decline? Well, this is due mostly to the sweeping tariff announcement that Trump made yesterday. And I'm not going to make this video political. I'm going to discuss what I'm doing in this environment with my money, examine both sides of the tariffs argument, and how this could affect us at the individual level. It looks like it's affected a lot of people already, mainly if you're an investor, but it's more complicated than that. To be transparent, I am a right-leaning person, but I'm hoping to look at these issues in as much of an unbiased way as possible, which is easier said than done. But these are heavily nuanced topics, and I just want to give as much info as I can. And this is one of those topics where there's a lot to consider, right? We got inflation, we've got jobs, we've got fairness in trade, relations with other countries, and there are legitimate pros and cons to both approaches that I'll discuss today. And I've reached out to a lot of people who are very high up in companies just to get their opinions. And there's some very smart people arguing for both sides. So I just wanted to say that right now. So let me know what you think below. But be nice. This is politics. Have a nuanced discussion, because I know with politics things seem to get out of hand. So control your emotions below. Whenever I talk about dating or politics, I get a bunch of grown men acting like a bunch of little girls in the comments. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So if I were to give my thoughts on what I think of these tariffs and how this could affect, the United States consumer and the rest of the world, my honest answer is I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm still learning about the situation, and I'm not jumping to conclusions just to align with a political party. Because when it comes to these tariffs, it really is an experiment. Like, I believe this is an aggressive move. It's maybe a little bit of a gamble that if it works out, it could work out very well for America and its future. But if it's not done correctly, it could have devastating consequences. So let me just quickly summarize what's happening. Yesterday, April 2nd, Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs, including a 10% baseline tariff on all goods imported into the U.S. and higher reciprocal tariffs on a lot of countries where we have significant trade deficits or high trade barriers. So if you don't know what a tariff is, it's just basically a border tax that's charged when you import goods from a foreign country. This move was dubbed as Liberation Day, and it sparked a lot of debate. So I'm going to break down the arguments that both sides are making, both the sides that are heavily supporting these tariffs and then the sides that's heavily critical of these. So let's get into it. So let's start with arguments in favor of these sweeping tariffs. I'd say the number one, the most common argument is that it will boost American manufacturing and jobs. So obviously, if you impose these tariffs on these other countries, there's going to come a point where companies will ask themselves, well, maybe we got to build this plant in America. Maybe we got to build our own products here. And there's a lot of support in this from American labor unions, United Auto Workers. They back these tariffs. And proponents argue that these tariffs will just incentivize these companies to relocate back to the United States, reversing decades of offshoring. The next common argument is that it's going to reduce the trade deficit. So advocates highlight that the U.S. has a persistent $1.2 trillion goods trade deficit in 2024. And this is a national emergency, as Trump declared it. They argue that these tariffs will discourage imports and encourage exports by pressuring other countries to lower their own trade barriers in these negotiations. So this reciprocal nature of the tariffs is kind of seen as a fair way to level the playing field, ensuring that other countries aren't, quote, ripping off the U.S. The next big piece is this is going to increase national security and economic sovereignty. So supporters emphasize that reliance on foreign goods, especially from adversaries like China, weakens U.S. security, because if we're in a conflict with them, they can just cut off sending us these things. So tariffs, they say, are going to bolster the domestic defense industrial base by reducing dependence on imported materials and technology. So this kind of aligns again with the America First policy, framing tariffs as a way to reclaim economic independence. The next thing that the Trump administration argues is that they claim tariffs will generate significant revenue, potentially astronomical amounts of revenue that could fund tax cuts for Americans. I know they've thrown out the idea that if you make $150,000 or less, you'll pay no federal income tax, which would be kind of crazy. If they can implement that, that could be a huge tax cut. So the next thing that they're saying we can use the tariffs for would be leverage in trade negotiations. So it's going to force trading partners to come to the table, talk to us, and just even the threat of tariffs has already prompted some countries to come and negotiate. And Republicans believe that this is going to lead to fairer trade deals. So that's interesting as well. So these are just some of the things, but a lot of the support for these tariffs revolves around this, right? America First agenda, bringing jobs back, national security, avenue for tax cuts, and balancing just kind of the deficit that we have. It's no secret that America is spending too much money, and we need any avenue we can to bring money back to us, and tariffs is one of those options. So we'll see. Now let's get into the arguments against the sweeping tariffs, and there are a lot of very valid arguments here as well. So number one, inflation, right? Higher costs for American consumers. Like tariffs could raise prices for everyday goods because we do import a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff you buy in the grocery store is imported from other countries. A lot of technology and stuff's made in other countries. And since the cost of labor in America is so much higher than these other countries, obviously it makes sense that there would be some inflation. Now, how long it's going to last, that's what the right would argue for, right? Some countries might be really upset with the United States, especially trading partners like China, EU, Canada, South Korea. They've all vowed to make countermeasures. And if there's a trade war going on where everyone's lifting their tariffs, that really is going to affect trade at a global scale, and that would be bad. That would almost guarantee economic slowdown in inflation, which is that's a big deal. That's a big risk to this plan if the other countries don't play nice. Another big one is uncertainty and market volatility. So even just after these tariffs were announced, right, the market's been down a lot. The markets hate uncertainty and vague details. And honestly, it's bad news for the market so far. We'll see where it goes long term. But a lot of opponents say that this is going to hamper business planning. Firms can't predict costs or supply chain shifts, and there's something to consider about that as well. This vagueness of these tariffs will prevent people from building their plants and factories here. Like, why would a company invest $100 million in a new factory in the U.S. if they can flip the tariffs off immediately? So why would they invest if these tariffs are just going to be so unstable? It doesn't make sense. They're saying these jobs might not even come back to America, which I think is a valid concern. Opponents of the tariffs also argue that this is going to strain international relations, especially from countries that are fairly nice to us to begin with. Canada, Australia, EU. They've condemned the tariffs as unwarranted, and it's not acting like a friend, and there could be some diplomatic fallout as well. And we don't want to isolate the U.S. at a time when cooperation is needed on a lot of world issues. So this could be against American interests, as the Democrats say. So that's just a little bit about both arguments. Now let's talk about how these tariffs can affect us at home. So obviously a big one, if you're an investor, short-term stock market fluctuations, it's hit me. If you're trading, if you're doing short-term stuff, that could be really bad news for you. It's also going to be higher prices on everyday goods, like taxes on imports. So if you go to the grocery store, it's very likely it's going to be some inflation there, some technology, some cars, depending on where the car's made. That's a big deal. The cost of home maintenance, depending on the raw materials, because there's going to be tariffs on raw materials, that could go up. There could be potential job gains or losses. If this pushes us into a recession, we could be looking at job losses. If the long-term plan of this works, we could be looking at more jobs in America. This is going to create some uncertainty on big purchases. If you're looking to buy a car or some tech like a laptop, the prices might spike soon once these tariffs get implemented. But the timing's tricky. So if you rush now, you might overpay. You could wait. Supplies could thin out. We just don't know what happens, because with car prices, a lot of parts are imported. A lot of parts that go into a computer, imported or made overseas entirely. So there's a lot of uncertainty. There's also a lot of possible benefits down the line, right? This administration does claim that the tariff revenue could fund big tax cuts. It could reduce the deficit. And long-term job growth could lift wages overall. But these benefits aren't certain and not immediate, for sure. I think both sides have agreed that this could be a long period of uncertainty that we're facing ahead. So this is what I'm doing. And again, this isn't financial advice, but I'm keeping the same old plan. This does not change anything for me because now's not the time to be taking big risks with your money. Now's not the time to be options trading or doing day trading because there's lots of volatility happening. Now's not the time to be trying to get rich quick, right? So I'm going to continue dollar cost averaging, right? Like and just setting my $1,000 or so a month to be invested in there. And the thing is, I'm not going all in though, because I do have a little bit of a cash pile, and I do think stocks are a little overvalued historically, but I'm not here to predict what's going to happen. I'm just dollar cost averaging. The main reason I'm holding more cash than normal is just due to my lifestyle, and in case a big correction happens, I can pounce on it with cash. But honestly, if it keeps going down, I'll be going on a buying spree, and that's going to be fun. It's like a big discount store of stocks, and I love it. And I'd be able to juice up my overall stock holdings and dividends if they keep going down too. So bottom line here, this is a heavily debated topic, and you'll likely feel the pinch of higher prices at first. And this could start early on as next week, and if you're an investor, you've already felt that punch already. So we're just, any benefits to this, like jobs or tax relief, it's just really going to depend on how the economy adjusts and whether Trump's promises pan out. But for now, maybe tightening down expenses and not overspending might be something to take a look at right now. So proponents of this stuff see that this is a bold step to restore U.S. economic power and protect us and correct imbalances. This could be a historic move if done correctly, but if not done correctly, it's a risky gamble that could raise costs, provoke retaliation, and destabilize the global economy. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. What do you think is going to happen? Because in my mind, only time will tell. But either way, good luck, guys. I just thought I'd make a quick kind of emergency video today. But we'll catch you in the next one.